I think it is probably the first in a very long time that has been a referendum campaign that has been shock horror about the referendum rather than extraneous events, rather than, for example, the two no's, June 2001, when the established parties were surprised with the no to Nice, and 2008 when there was a more widely predicted no to Lisbon. They involved all sorts of scattergun annoyance, from there's nothing decent on telly to all sorts of bits and bobs. This has been largely about the referendum. I think the big worry for the government and the yes side is going to be turnout. History teaches us that yes votes in referendums are heavily dependent on a half-decent turnout. For example, in June 2001, when they said no to the EU Nice Treaty, in or about a third of the people bothered to vote. It was utterly lamentable. 2 out of 3 people didn't go. In 2008, the turnout in the first Lisbon referendum was 53%. So I think the government will be working hard, particularly the government parties, to try to get people out to vote. There is that sort of dichotomy where voters are saying, well, the heart says no, but the head says yes. Tell you what, might call it a draw and not bother in the war between heart and head. Might call it a draw and stop at home. I think that is going to be a worry as we enter the final week.
I think the campaign has been well managed from the yes side in keeping the focus extremely narrow about what is to be discussed. But I do think the no side, and I am surprised that they haven't attempted to make a lot more hay out of water charges and household charges. If you saw the anger, the lack of participation, the civil disobedience of sorts in not paying the charge, that hasn't carried over into this referendum. They haven't been able to. Now, there's been posters, and sometimes people might get remarks in debates, but I don't think it's been used, and that whole act of civil disobedience has been used by people, principally probably because there is such a division between Sinn Féin and between the ULA and the other members of the technical group. They are all fighting for their own pitches within the Dáil. They're looking towards 2014. You can see, even for the Euro elections, the local elections, people are getting set up and ready for those real battles as opposed to this battle. The one thing that I think hasn't been heard, and I'm sad that it hasn't been heard, is the voice of those that don't understand what's going on. You're told, do what we tell you to do for the good of the country and for growth, but the people who are hurting aren't being heard in this whole campaign. And also the issues around, community and society haven't been heard. And I'd say there's be a strong, loud community voice that would be against many of the things brought about in this referendum, but they're not being heard because the community sector has been annihilated by the cuts. They're also coping with people in huge need, and getting involved in a debate about fiscal treaties, ESMs and all sorts of other acronyms is not something that people can have time for.
I will be very surprised if it's not a yes. I'm not entirely sure that it's going to be 60-40, but I think it will be a clear-cut yes.
Okay, and is there a possibility of a Sean Gallagher moment?
Well, anything can happen. Politics is many things. It's very rarely neat. Right now there's no sign of such a prospect, but watch this space.
I think it will be a yes, because the no side won't come out. They haven't been galvanised enough, and the yes side have been scared enough into coming out. But I don't think the turnout will be huge, and it'll probably be a yes.